Hello and welcome to episode 5 of my adventures in Kerbal Space Program, Thessaloniki. First thing I'm going to do is get some upgrades. In the last episode we attempted to shoot for the Mun and we just couldn't get there. Mostly it was because we just couldn't control the rocket properly on the way up. And by the time we were in space we'd already spent all our fuel just getting there. Really want to get some control surfaces, something that'll help us steer on the way out of the atmosphere. Without the control surfaces, we ended up just drifting more southeast, and our orbit was about 20 degrees instead of 0 degrees like it's supposed to. And we then used up all this fuel just trying to correct course, and the mission was a failure. Now, as I'm upgrading this rocket, I'm going to reduce the complexity. I was using too many small fuel tanks. Instead, I'm going to swap those out for the larger ones. Now, this cluster rocket I'm using comes from the more MK1 mod. Some really cool parts there. In fact, I'm going to swap out these stock tanks for the fuselage tanks from the more MK1 mod as well, just to get that part count down. Now I can provide the full list of mods I'm using. There's maybe a dozen or so, but I figure I can just call them out as they come along. Okay, now the fuselage tank is roughly twice as big and heavy as the stock T400 tank, so we don't get any advantage from it. It just looks nicer and reduces the part count. Next, I'm going to swap out these rigid winglets for some controllable tail fins. These fins are really good for steering through the atmosphere. They automatically pivot as we push in the controls. Next, we've got to fine-tune them. They'll probably work okay as is, but in my experience, the tail fins tend to pull too hard in one direction and not hard enough in another. So we set them to deploy, and then fine-tune the authority limiter. So there's no real science to it, I mostly just do it by feel. That is, as the rocket is doing Mach 2, how would it behave with the wings angled like this? And of course, we don't need to use them to roll. That would just spin our rocket like crazy. We already have control wheels that will give us enough roll to play with. In the past, I found that using tail wings for roll just makes the other directions less reliable. It tends to kind of fishtail. Now let's rename this thing. The Orbiter 3. The Orbiter 2 proved too difficult to control while in ascent. The Orbiter 3 includes some better control surfaces and extra fuel. Of course. That'll do. And finally, I'm going to try out these cameras. This comes with the docking camera, KURS style. What it gives you is a camera in each docking port. It makes it look really cool to do docking maneuvers. But what it also gives you a little attachable turret with a camera in it. Okay, let's see now. Each camera has its own display screen, which we can toggle on and off, and each camera can be pivoted around. We have zoom control, that's pretty cool. Okay, I'm gonna set one looking straight ahead and the other looking straight down. Okay, and we are ready to go in 3, 2, 1, and liftoff. Now I'm going to steer straight due east as soon as possible. We want to get through the atmosphere, yes, but we really want to be moving sideways as fast as possible, because that's what's going to keep us up there. If we were to go straight up, we'd fall right back down again. Separating the boosters now. Wow, the camera view makes it so cool. Separating the bottom stage now. 60 kilometers up, we're now headed for an apoapsis of 110 kilometers. That is perfect. We just have to drift through the last layers of the atmosphere now, and at 70 kilometers we are home free. So now I'm going to plan a maneuver to circularize our orbit first. Our apoapsis is at 110 kilometers, but our periapsis is only 40 kilometers. At that altitude, the air is too thick and we just burn up. So I want to speed us up a bit to make that orbit more circular. But the timing is really important. I want to wait until our apoapsis turn to prograde and initiate just a short burn. Okay, next we want to shoot for the Mun. We're looking pretty good in terms of plane of orbit. That is, we're spinning around the Earth at about the same axis as the Moon. This means that we only need to burn in the direction of our travel to hit it. The last time out, our axis of spin was about 20 degrees to the Moon. This meant that we not only had to burn a prograde, but we also had to burn sideways. So much so that it was not enough fuel to get there and back again. This time, we don't have to go sideways at all. In fact, we're now traveling at about 2200 meters per second around Kerbin and need to add about 815 meters per second of velocity at the right time to hit the Moon. To get that, we need to burn about 1 minute and 10 seconds. And that's it. We're now doing 3,000 meters per second, which is about 10,800 kilometers an hour, or 6,710 miles an hour. And we're on course to intercept the Moon's gravity well. And once we get there, we'll be going too fast to stay there, so we need to, oops. Okay, it seems we did not burn for quite long enough, or we're not going to hit the Moon. So we just got to do some small adjustments, some course corrections. Let's see here. Yeah, just a few meters per second more, and we should be good. Okay, now we set up a maneuver node at the closest point to the moon, and we burn to retrograde. Now for those playing at home, prograde means in the direction of our travel, and retrograde means the opposite. So we'll burn into retrograde to slow ourselves down, and turn our escape trajectory into an orbital trajectory. And we've broken another record. We have broken the speed record of 2,500 meters per second. That's pretty cool. And now we drift. There's no air in space to slow us down, so we can just now relax and wait for the moon to catch us. Now, of course, this could take days, but here we use the magic of time acceleration. Okay, almost time for a deceleration burn, and fire. Beautiful. We have entered orbit of the moon. Our rewards are 25 grand, 2 science points, and 3 reputation. That's it. Let's run some experiments. We are now in orbit of the moon. We can run our materials bay and let's see. Yeah, close those doors. I don't like it. They don't really do anything, but yeah. So let's have a look at these experiments. Yep, we can run the mystery goo. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And let's run an EVA report as well. Nice lot of science from this mission, just from orbiting the moon. And that's all we have time for. Our Orbiter 3 spacecraft, carrying the brave Valentina Kerman, has successfully entered orbit around the moon. Join us next time and we'll see what we can do to bring her back safely. As always, thanks for watching.